Welcome to Paris. Today's broadcasting from Paris will cover up what's happening here in Paris. And today I start to have a chat with Tina Kehö from Citra Innovation Fund. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Kai.
And it's exciting to be here. It's a lot of things going on, and it's a little bit difficult to cover everything. But I think, from my perspective, I think yesterday was very important when all the mayors was meeting in the town hall, and I got a feeling that it's a little bit of a pressure on the national government now, and they feel that maybe their national government maybe will lose their face if they don't come to a deal. So the mayor's role is really interesting and also very important, I think, for the negotiation process. But we're not going to talk about the mayors just now. We're more going to talk with about some of the work that you, Tina, is leading. And maybe first, tell me, what is your role in Citra Innovation Fund?
Thank you, Kai. Yes, my role in Citra, which is the Finnish Innovation Fund, is to lead a team which is called Carbon Neutral Industry, which obviously the name tells where we want Finland to go to become carbon neutral society, and especially help with the companies to reach those targets and get also competitive advantage being low carbon. And I think here in the Nordic countries, we have this advantage already. We have great companies and great clean tech knowledge that we can spread to the world.
And we need a lot of doers when we see all the policies now under discussion, and of course we have to deliver. And I saw that some of the days here you did a presentation of some work you have been done, and you have been looking at some of the projects that you think will need to be scaled up, and you come out with a report. It was a pre-launch of a report.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about the most interesting from that report?
Absolutely. Yeah, this Green to Scale report we just launched a few weeks ago, and we have been presenting it here at COP21. And we just wanted to simply, together with our international 10 partners, to see if there are already proven solutions, low carbon solutions that have been implemented somewhere in the global south or global north, that just by scaling them up and not doing any extra investment or extra innovations, we could actually close the emission gap almost totally, which is today we understand that it is about 14 gigatons that we need to reduce the gap to not to reach the 2 degrees limit. And with this report, we just found out that just by scaling up 17 exciting solutions, we could reach up to 12 gigaton emission reduction, which is quite remarkable.
And that must fit very well into the talk the mayors coming here with, to say that they're going to be fossil free, or they're going to be carbon neutral or climate neutral.
Yes.
So they have something to do when they're coming here back home from Paris.
Absolutely.
And that means also that you have a very big role to play to deliver the experience from your report.
Yes, and this is what we want to spread to the whole community globally, and cities play such a crucial role when they need to build not only new infrastructure but renovate old infrastructure, and these solutions are really needed. What have been proven somewhere, for example, in the Nordic countries, we not surprisingly found out that there are 3 solutions out of 17 that are implemented in the Nordics.
Oh, that's interesting. I had a talk yesterday with Michael Blomberg, and he was appreciating the Nordic work very much. And I think that the Nordics can have a very big role to play to help other countries to scale up their, and also accelerate the work to reduce their emissions.
Yes, I would like to highlight, for example, the example we chose from Finland, which is using biomass in heating. And just by scaling that solution up in the world, we could reduce emission with the size of Bangladesh is producing every year. Or another great example from Denmark, which is cutting food waste, which they have implemented really remarkably well. It could really reduce emissions to the size of UK and France together. So that's already quite remarkable.
Interesting. What you have also done a lot of other work in Citra Innovation Fund, and you also produce a report which is more linked also to the talk we had with the mayors of carbon neutrality.
Yes.
And the name of the report was Benefits of Carbon Neutrality in a Rapidly Changing Business Environment.
Yes.
What was the conclusion in that report?
Well, that is another exciting report we wanted to produce just before COP21, just to show that not only we need already proven solutions, like I explained with the other report, we need to look into the future. We need to understand what kind of mega trends are driving carbon neutrality. And if I just mention the obvious ones like climate change, urbanization, which is very much linked to the cities, and then digitalization, which is like smart is the new green, we say today. And these mega trends are creating a massive marketplace for clean tech solutions that are very relevant for companies and countries like the Nordics and Finland.
And particularly the mayors and the cities are going to be big actors in this work, isn't it?
Absolutely, because as we know, the major growth and building and mobility, what we eat, how we move, and how we live is happening in the cities.
So I understand that we also have to look at the financing of this, and many seminars here in Paris has been focused on the financing part of this, that there is need to find maybe other actors to be involved, and also the pension funds role, and I think we're gonna have a little bit of a talk with one of the actors from one of the seminar yesterday here, the CEO of South Pole Group. They were talking about the needs of financing.
Yes.
And so if we will look at that particular area of financing, have you done any particular work on investment?
Yes, we have been looking into the investment side a lot and work with, for example, the Helsinki, their carbon footprint, and how investors can see more transparently the carbon footprint in certain companies. But then I would also like to come back to the cities in a way that also new operating models and financing are very important. Like the work we are doing in the Helsinki region today is where the companies, the private money, the cities and the government are actually putting money together and then building something more. So we need completely new ways of operating and financing these clean tech projects.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit of insight from the discussion about green bonds as one of this type of solutions, and which help different type of investors to support the city's budget.
Yes.
Well, let's try to see if we can get into this theme of financing a little bit more. And thank you very much for your participation today.
Thank you.
I think you have some work to do when you come home from Paris.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Kai.
Thank you very much. And now we're going to change here as we have a little bit of a studio, and Renat Herberger, CEO of South Pole, coming in and sit here.
Hello, Kai.
Hello. And you can hear what we were talking about. And how many days have you been here in Paris now?
I've arrived 4 days ago now, and it feels like 4 weeks already.
And what's your impression about what's going on?
Well, there is this moment circulating here that over there in the negotiation rooms, they're sharing the burden, while we here, where in the business communities and among mayors and cities, we are sharing the opportunity. And I think there's some truth in that. And sometimes it's difficult for me to understand why we have this big gap. Why is the mood, so depressed at times in the negotiations? While here, whoever you talk to has something new to share, a new technology, a new innovation, a new finance, a new fund. And it looks like solving climate change is absolutely doable. So So what are we talking about?
yeah, what's the question?
What's the question?
Or maybe we're coming back to the issue of leadership, and maybe also the political leadership. If you need to work with all this type of complexity, you need a really important leadership in that model.
Yes.
And it's humans' behaviors, and I think that maybe will be one of the challenges we have to look at, and how the political leadership have to be sort of in place.
Very true.
But you also have been acting in many of the seminars regarding financing.
That's right.
And I think that South Pole has been involved in some of the projects which has been presented here in some of the seminar. So can you give a view of what the role of South Pole is here in Paris?
So our company, the South Pole Group, understands ourselves pretty much as a sustainability company. And our aim, why are we existing? We pioneer and bring to market all kind of products and services to the corporate world, also to the public, which is essentially using market powers to solve climate change. So in simple words, we want to prove that you can actually make money by solving climate change. And just to give you one example, since you mentioned finance, that was indeed a big topic here. And I don't know if you're already aware of what revolution happened over the past year only. Over the past decade, I would say, we have done a lot of carbon footprinting of companies. We have provided offsets to go carbon neutral. And during all this time, one thing we forgot, everybody forgot, was that your impact you're having on the climate, 50% of your impact happens through your investments. So like, what? Me? Yes, you. Your pension funds, your membership in a church, your membership in an alumni fund. So it's a lot of money, which is a lot of climate impact. And we started to monitor that impact of investments.
Yeah.
And over the past year, there was an explosion of activity, and all kind of pension funds, endowment funds, and so on are now looking at climate risks in their investments. And over the past year alone, our company, we have screened over $1 trillion in assets. And I think that's unheard of. So big movement.
So how could you find way to transform and transfer this money into the right place?
That's of course that's a very obvious next question. Because as soon as you have the data and you know what your portfolio looks like, the next question is, of course, what can I do? And it's a lot of things you can do actually. Let's not forget, pension funds have their investment strategies. So the first and most obvious thing is, even inside your current investment strategy, is to move your portfolios towards low carbon. So you replace inside the same sector a company which has a lot of emissions with a company which has lower emissions. So you start preferring those stock. So that's the easy one. One thing that is then more going into the city topics, which I find that would have been a second example, where there's a lot of action going on. For those pension funds or other investors who are more innovative, we now see more and more products such as green bonds, for example, on city level, which provide very attractive alternative investment opportunities for bonds seeking returns and positive impact.
Interesting. What have you? I heard that we have been sort of discussed on the local level, that you set up labs on city level.
Yep.
to get the actors together to find the solution. Are you involved in a lot of work on the city level?
We are indeed. We are involved in a European Union-based program called the Low Carbon City Lab. This is essentially hosted by the Climate Kick. The Climate Kick is Europe's biggest public-private partnership for climate innovation. So it's a big thing. It's a European Union thing. One of the biggest projects of the Kick is actually this Local. And what is Local about? Local understands that in many cities, a lot of very good things are going on. And I'm talking here also especially about the Nordic cities. We have had events in the past few days where we saw an amazing range of very positive examples where Nordic cities have really led the crowds on climate action. And what is Local doing? Local is a platform for transferring, for first of all benchmarking and then transferring such best practice examples to other cities. And I'm not only talking about the north-south transfer. It can also be a south-north transfer of innovative ideas. So one of the key pillars of Local is to see what happens in cities in terms of best practice and how can we copy good examples. A second, if you allow, important pillar of Local is finance. The problem of many cities, and here I'm not talking about Nordic cities with AAA balance sheets. I'm talking about cities like Lima, Peru, or something, or a city in Africa. These cities have difficulties to access finance because they're not creditworthy. So one other aspect of Local is to assist such cities in getting ready for issuing green bonds, for accepting for being ready for finance, in order to ensure that they can participate in the markets to boost their low carbon infrastructure.
So, what is the politician's role in this? Because I can see that you need to break a lot of traditional roles of borders and to bring the right people to the table.
Yeah.
Is it the needs of a stronger political leadership role here?
Absolutely. And coming back to the very first point, why is there this divide between business and cities? See the solution, while on country level, it's such a thing about this burden sharing. I think one of the key reasons is that let's face it, today's world is so complicated that these guys over there, they're not only talking about climate change, there's all kind of other issues interfering. For example, two countries happen to be at war, others have a dispute at the WTO, others have an issue around the agricultural subsidies and the trade agreements, so all kind of global issues that are interfering somehow in the climate debate. It's very difficult for people to take leadership in that sense. And let's keep in mind, the UN system does only do decisions by unanimous agreement. So if one single country backs out, the deal is gone. Now how can you be a leader if you need 192 other leaders to have the same opinion like you? Very difficult. So this political process is very important. But what I like to say here is that working with cities, with mayors who have maybe a smaller radius of action, but inside this radius, they actually are pretty fast, pretty efficient.
Yeah. And they
I
don't
would say
make
that's a solution only, but that's a very attractive part of the solution.
And cities doesn't make more.
And cities hardly ever go at war these days. That's true. I hope so.
Mayors like to collaborate and find solutions.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Renat, we're going to see if we have some of our friends here coming into the studio, our little studio here in the Nordic Pavilion in Paris. And let's say we can sort of maybe meet again to follow up these issues and the success of the work you're doing. But thank you for today. And then we will see how, I think I have some of the our other networking partners here who are trying to get in involvement of this consumer's role and also the individual responsibility. I think Joni Koronen is here, and I think he also has some message around his work with the climate pledge. So thank you very much for this talk, and then we should change.
Thanks, Kai, for having me here at your beautiful Nordic booth. Thank you.
Thanks so very much. Well, this is a very simple studio, so we're going to change a bit, and I think here in the Nordic Pavilion, it's a lot of different side events going on, and I just saw the group of indigenous people in the north, the Same people from who is here to also to lobby their interest, and it is a a very interesting discussion how you can combine the traditional historical role of the Sami people and the indigenous people, and how they relate to the development of our type of welfare states. And first now we're going to see if Juni has arrived here, and welcome to this little studio. And what is your expression about to be in Paris? You have been here for some days now.
No. This is my first day.
Is it the first day?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So compared to Lima, this is calm and quiet, and but it's like good environment because now you have some time to meet people, discuss with them,
Yeah.
and maybe things are progressing that way, maybe more efficiently than having a really big fuss.
And what is your role in the daily life?
So I'm getting my salary from the association, which I'm also founding. It's called Climate Leadership Council, and it consists now today 23 leading companies, their CEOs and chairman of the boards, who wants to develop the business out of the climate change.
Yeah.
And we see that if we develop products and services which are cleaner than older ones, it also must be a profitable business. And that way we can get enough investments for this transformation.
And normally you are placed in work from Helsinki?
Yeah, that my main location is Helsinki, but
And
this kind of work is like almost every day in a different place.
yeah.
But address is there.
Yeah, and your working place is Citra Innovation Fund.
Yeah, my office is there,
Yeah.
but we are separate
Yeah.
association.
Oh, okay. But you are. I met you some weeks before, and we have been talking about very interesting work you are doing on the climate pledge. Can you give us a view of what the climate pledge is?
Yeah, actually, that is another thing what I'm doing as my hobby, because we established like 2.5 years ago in Finland association called Storm Warning, and that was established by the artists. So I ended up doing that because my son is a musician, and with his connections, I ended up discussions with people working with music. And then we were thinking that how our association could make a difference. So we are not a protest movement. We don't encourage people to go to marches or sign their names to something which is telling that the Chinese or US people should resolve it. But we encourage people to put things in their own life. And this is basically core idea of this climate pledge. And last spring we had a meeting in Brussels with some retired UN officer, and he thought also maybe United Nations may be interested in this because citizens are almost like forgotten part of this equation. So we are now working with countries and cities and companies, and they are doing their pledges and actions. But I see almost no action with the citizen.
No, I see, and that means that you will see more of an individual responsibility in the work.
Yeah, and the citizens pledge idea is that if you sign it, then you basically commit to decrease your own carbon footprint to half, at least to half within the next 10 years. And then you measure it with some kind of IT tools. And then you do systematical changes, maybe 2 or 3 per year, but then you go to the different way of life. And in Nordics, we are basically the lucky ones because we have those options. We have green electricity, we have green heat in many cities, we have green gas, and then we have a lot of solutions like geothermal, LED lights, and low CO2 transportation options. But we see that the citizens' choice, for example, in Finland, we calculated that 68% of the Finnish carbon footprint inside Finland is dependent on the household decisions. So the citizens' role is very big.
I see. And what is the steps now to work further on with the climate pledge?
So the first step is now that we launch this campaign in Finland, not in the one like big media, but more or less like word-of-mouth campaign with senior decision makers. And now today we have 1,400 pledgers in our website. And we have our president, current president Sauli Niinistö, former president Tarja Halonen, Prime Minister Juha Sipilä, other ministers, several CEOs, Archbishop, movie directors, musicians and actors on board. So it's like spreading surprisingly well now among the decision makers and influencers.
So the next steps is to go out more globally?
Yeah, today actually we discussed with UN FCCC how to make an international version of this. And my dream would be that we have international version within a month or two existing, and then we can have a kind of a campaigns getting a bigger audience activated. And as an example, the Finnish Olympic Committee has decided to support it, and I heard that most probably they will also propose that to the International Olympic Committee. And then some people have been approaching the world churches. I have a meeting with WCC representative here. And then also I have had rumors from the second hand that, for example, Google and maybe Facebook would be interested to support it. So if you have Pope and Google and Facebook and maybe
then you maybe
committee,
can.
it could be very big potentially.
Yeah, because how could I, as a citizen, engage myself in this? Where do I go to give my point of view?
Yeah, well, today it exists only in Finland. We have an English version of that. So it's difficult Finnish name, ilmastolupaus.
Okay.
But if you Google climate pledge.
Maybe we can send it out on Twitter.
Yeah, but it's too early to send it out now because the calculator works only in Finnish conditions.
I see.
So that is what we are working also with UNFCCC, that when the calculators exist for other countries, then we can release that in every country.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense to publish that too early. But let's see, today we have a meeting on that, and after that we know kind of more closely what will be the interest and schedule from the UNFCCC point of view.
So that will be something that you are concentrate on now here in Paris.
Yeah, that's one topic. But then on the other hand, like from the business point of view, I think that the outcome of Paris will be measured whether the businesses are really kind of able to quadruple the investments for energy efficiency and clean energy. And that is the main outcome of the Paris. And I'm really bit worried because the key, like silver bullet for doing that would be something like carbon price. But it is not totally missing from these discussions, but its role is too weak, I would say. So this is my wish list for the next COPs, that we kind of try to get that in a much more firmer way into the agenda.
I see. Yeah. Well, I wish you good luck for the work to come, and we maybe can follow up that on social media a little bit later, and when we start to engage people to give their own personal interest to sign up for the climate pledge. Thank you, Joni, and thank you very much. And now we're going to see if we have some other guests coming in. I'm not sure that we will have. It was someone who coming with the train from Paris, and when you know that it is a little bit of a transportation here to La Bouchette outside Paris, and we have meetings in the city of Paris, and so it is a little bit of a transportation, but it's functioning pretty well. And when we look back, since we start this webcast from Paris, we have been meeting many mayors, and we have also talked about the Nordic values. We have passed discussion around the carbon neutral strategy for cities, and we can see that Copenhagen is the leading actors to be carbon neutral 2025, but we have also discussed fossil-free strategy, which Växjö in Sweden and also the Swedish government has been addressed their issues on to build a fossil-free nation. It's very interesting. We're going to have the Minister of Environment here in some hours in the Nordic pavilion. But we've also been discussing issues around adaptation, and this is a big issue because climate change will hurt us in many different ways, and for the Nordics they have a big challenge around the Baltic Sea, and we have some good news on projects that is ongoing now. But it's also based on that cities around the Baltic Sea will play a very active role, and it's also creation of jobs, and it's also about financing. But the Baltic Sea is one of the very interesting project area for to work on the adaptation program. We also been discussing district heating as a technology solution for cities, and also the IT sector's role, big data, but also engagement of citizens. We have different types of new methods as what we call hackathons, which bring a lot of people together and you can solve problems. And it's a very interesting new tool for the cities to engage people from different places locally, but also globally. On the financing side, you have heard today, we have local city labs on the way to help the local city to find investment capital for important areas to go carbon neutral. We have also talked about the role of the pension funds, green bonds, which are tools and sources for us to look further on and to be used for cities and to be carbon neutral. So that will be what we can call the summing up from the program today. And it may be that we're sending one more webinars from here in Paris. We follow us on Twitter, and we will announce maybe some other program later this coming week, because now it's starting to get hot. The politicians, the national leaders are coming back the next week, and they will probably find that the mayors will go behind and push the national leader to sign up a binding deal on climate change. So that will be the last word from me here in Paris today, and hope to talk to you a little bit later. Thank you very much.